Yeah,
Test.
not yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
he
There
can
we
hear
go.
me.
There we go.
Got a
Yep.
signal.
Yep.
All right.
Cool. Cool.
All right, there we
All right. All
go.
right. I know it's been a while. Hey, what's up, Brian? What's up? Yeah, let me. I can turn my lights on now. Woo! Just sitting in the dark. Oh, damn, that's bright.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't have our typical setup today, but that's
Okay.
okay.
No, well, it's been a while. It's been a
Came
while.
back anew. Yeah, exactly. We
Yep.
we
Yep.
we in
Well,
our
a lot of.
travels, we lost a lot of equipment.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible. That
Yeah, I
is
mean,
terrible.
it's life. There were electrical storms in some of the places where we were,
Right.
and not every place has got the same regulations that we know of. So, I didn't know that places didn't all have grounding, you know, for um for
Right.
electrical storms. So when the lightning was hitting everywhere, I figured the houses and places where we were safe. So discovered the hard way. So I'm
Okay.
a little bit
Okay.
closer here. So, yeah, it's interesting, traveling around and just kind of, let's say, especially when you unplug the way we were forced to unplug,
Right.
and then just connecting where you are, and that's the only information coming in and out, and yeah, you're getting things because people are really good at spreading information around,
Right.
but really being tapped into where you are just kind of like reset me, so kind
Okay.
of back with a fresh perspective, fresh like outlook on how people from these places that are living, certain way regularly,
Right.
how they're getting the information. So I'm really excited about our show today because you got to catch me up with the West. I got to,
Okay.
like,
Well.
talk to you about some of the things I've heard and questions people
Okay.
ask me.
Well,
And
I would say
later,
let's
hopefully, we have a
start with
special
the
guest.
questions because the questions are probably relate to what's being. Oh man! Shout out to Conscious Ron. Shout out to Angels Up to Seven. Shout out to Twin man. Well, so
Hi,
we've got
guys, twin.
changes on this
Hi,
platform.
guys, Angel.
So now that we
Yes. Okay.
streaming from our
So,
regular.
like technical changes, or we're talking about political changes, or what
Oh no,
exactly?
no, just technical as far as like just
Ah,
channels. So we got like Facebook, the Arena, normal channels, and then we, as you know, we got MD's channel, and then now we got Conscious Ron's channel, and then we got Chase channel. So yeah, we're
okay.
streaming from multiple platforms, and then of course we got Rumble. So yeah, shout out. So I guess let me ask, well, what's some of the questions? Maybe the questions will. Maybe I might not have to update you. Maybe in your questions, they are
Y-
probably a lot of the same.
Yeah.
A lot of
I
this
mean,
stuff.
so I think what's really interesting to touch on your where I think you're going with this question is hello, twin, good to see you without seeing you. um but let's just say that, like, everywhere I go, it's interesting how the first perspective, even if I'm traveling with, let's say, multiracial groups, the first question towards me is automatically, where are you from? Very curiously.
Right,
There's no assumption like with, other friends. Oh, you must be from a European city, here or there. They'll just kind of call out stuff. If my friends are from an African country, usually people, they peg that right away as well. But being a Black American traveling, especially with a mixed group of people, everyone's always curious where I'm from. Like, they just can't seem to place it. And I see that being like a regular theme everywhere. Just it made me ask the question, like, how often, are they running into Black American women? I was just really curious because it seemed like there was a time where there was more, people, traveling and seeing, far off places. But it doesn't seem like, let's say, with Black women. Yes, I meet a lot of Cubans. along the way. I meet, a lot of people, let's say black diaspora from many, many places. But even, myself, it's not very often when I run into a black American woman. So,
especially
so
in in America, right? But yeah,
I I mean, it's interesting because I am a part of a group on Facebook. I don't check in very often because honestly, Facebook's not one of my favorite platforms. Um, but this group, I really like it because it's kind of like the Green Book, the modern Green Book. It's a page on Facebook where people are just kind of showing each other where they are traveling. So particularly, Black Americans are showing each other where they're traveling in the world safely,
okay,
um, where they're enjoying their experiences, and then they'll call out when someone is not helping them to enjoy their experience.
okay,
So I see a lot of traveling happening, um, but not so much when I wouldn't say like Eastern Europe, still not so much. Germany, not really so much. When I'm talking about like Germany, Austria, um, yeah, you'll see people in Italy, you'll see people in France still, you'll see Americans in Belgium, um, Portugal for sure.
right,
Portugal just seems to be like the second hub, very similar to California in a lot of ways. Um, and a lot of similarities to Atlanta, where there's this a particular hub community that seems to be focused on finer living. Like, and when I say finer living, I'm talking about like better food quality,
right,
um better quality of life, not just work, but like really using your free time for your overall like better wellness. I'm seeing that a lot in these types of areas,
okay,
but mostly like here, Mideast, Europe, not as much.
okay.
So should I say Eastern Europe? Not so much. So yeah, like I said, right away, people ask me very curiously where I'm from, and then the minute that they find out where I'm from, first question they want to ask me is what I think about Biden.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so that question comes up a lot, and so I just thought that was interesting because you kind of kept me, up on some things, some news events that were happening in US that I wasn't, especially without you being able to just message me. I wouldn't have internet for long periods of time.
Right.
And so I wasn't
Oh wow.
getting a lot of like even let's say like Instagram feeds or Facebook messages, things like this. So I really only know about what's been going on through your messages.
Hmm.
So yeah, this is the interesting part because you're sending me things and people are asking me this question. And in the beginning of my travels, people are like, oh, what do you think about Biden? And I'm like, actually, I try not to
Right.
at
There you
all.
go. There you go.
you
There you-
know
Yes.
um so but I honestly, I don't even really think about American politics on a grand scheme much. um and especially like sensationalized news, I just stay away from it. But there just seems to be so many like, and then once I kind of say, well, I don't really have much to say about it, then people, if their English is strong enough, they really want to spend time telling me their opinions. And that is something that's also really interesting,
Okay.
kind of hearing people's perspectives abroad.
Right.
And we're talking about like everything from Southeast Asian countries to European countries, Eastern European countries,
Right.
name it. Every group would like to share with me some piece of insider opinion that they have about our political situation in the United States.
Right.
So I don't know if there was a particular place you wanted to start with because you gave me so much
Well, let's talk about
over
Biden.
this.
Let's talk about Biden.
Okay.
Talk about it.
So, I mean, what can we say exactly except that a lot of his speeches keep getting covered up around the world because he
Well,
seems to be going on a strange rant.
right. Well, let me share something with you.
Okay.
Donald Trump sums it up the best. Let me play Donald Trump for you.
Oh my goodness. Here we go.
Okay. So, hold on, hold on. Let me. Let's see. Full screen. Okay. So can you
Yeah, I see.
hold on? Wrong one. Okay. So
Can I scroll it or only you can scroll it?
um, this right there. I'm gonna play it for
Okay.
you. I want to
Okay.
play it's a specific thing. So this is Donald Trump.
Okay.
So this sums up Biden.
Become crooked Joe Biden's top surrogate, I think, because he doesn't think Biden is going to make it. That's why he's doing it. He doesn't think he's going to make it, and it won't be him so easy. He's going to have a big fight. However, because there will be a lot of Democrats competing, it's going to be very interesting. But let's see. Look, some people say Biden's going to make it. Does anybody think he's going to make it to the starting gate? I mean, the guy can't find his way off of a stage. Look, here's the stage. Here's the stage. I've never seen this stupid stage before, right? I've never seen it. But if I walk left, there's a stair. And if I walk right, there's a stair. And this guy gets up. Where am I? Where the hell am I? Where am I?
That pretty much sums up Biden right there.
Hmm.
It's confident
So,
mind, right?
yeah, I mean, something similar um was I actually had to share with some friends in Europe because the conversation was like what exactly did he mean by some things, cuz I think that people listening to the speeches, the way that politicians speak these days,
Well,
it's
it's gotten worse than the roaches. I remember roaches and the kids rubbing the hairs up and down. It's gotten
oh
worse
gosh.
than that. Yeah. Go ahead.
So, just like think about it. You're dealing with people whose first language is not English.
Right.
And, a lot of, let's say the more affluent families, middle class families, they do nothing, but send their kids to as many English, extra courses after school, any English courses inside of the school. Kids are kind of losing their playground time, their recesses, because they're spending so much time trying to in their I think their ideology trying to catch their kids up to the Western world, especially
Right.
places that were post, communistic.
Right.
Um, or like, up and coming, countries, who are on an economic rise, we're talking about like Singapore, places like this, right?
Right.
And so I think that like they get English, but sometimes, they really question their own ability to understand and to communicate, or, just we're insecure sometimes when we're learning new things. But I mean, you just don't know how many people are coming to me and say, could you just spend a moment to explain this to me? Because I feel like I don't understand. And they'll play me something. And at the end of it, I'm like, guess what? I don't understand either. That was completely incoherent. I don't even have like examples in front of me right now because I was looking at other people's phones at that time. But just like, yeah, pieces of speeches where, and we're talking about doctors, lawyers,
Right.
people who are not ignorant people, really trying to get a grasp on listening to a speech by Biden, and they were just blown away. Um, so I think that, that's kind of a lot of people feel like it's their issue until, they got a chance to meet somebody like me where they're like, could you take a moment to explain this? And I'm like, it's, unexplainable. Absolutely. There's no rhyme or reason to all those statements and words that were put together. They had no like plot, they had no cause, they had no, actual sentence structure. If we, as American children wrote papers like that in the second grade, we'd fail. so
Gotcha.
so I think that
Well,
that's kind of like the first issue I'm noticing moving around.
okay. Well, I just sent a invite, so I
Oh,
believe
great,
we have
great.
okay.
So,
So yeah,
so just to let everybody in, we have
yeah.
a very special guest coming to join me
Cool.
back on my first show back with you guys, because I think that what's been interesting is having a conversation, let's say, from within and without the United States, and really seeing how different people are taking on it. But
How's the
all
American
of
dollar
us,
doing out there, Nature Mom?
say it again.
How is the American dollar doing out there?
I could tell you right now. So
Okay.
the American dollar usually holds at 3.65.
And how is BRICS doing? I'm going somewhere with this, so you really don't have to look.
Yeah.
This is just a casual question.
To be honest with you, I mean, I don't really know
So that you have not seen
economically where BRICS is going. I know that there
BRICS is
are
going to
more
a
and more
gold.
countries joining
They're
BRICS.
going to a gold standard.
Yeah. So, yeah, for example, um
She's in Qatar, Chris. He wants to know where
oh,
you
okay. Okay.
Qatar.
Um, yeah, I can say that I'm noticing, and I wasn't sure that they were going to a gold standard, because I know that there was conversation about what currency, particularly like Saudi, who just joined BRICS.
Yep.
They no
Saudi just
longer,
joined, and along
yeah,
with Iran. Iran joined at the same time. Two mortal enemies, two Shia and Sunni Muslims joined together to come together
and
to be a part of
Saudi
BRICS.
does not want to accept the American dollar to buy barrels of oil anymore. So,
Wow, what did Biden do to our economy?
uh So, I'm gonna look
Hey,
that up
listen,
right now because I wanna
yeah,
see
no,
where the
no, you're
market is
on
today.
point. You're actually on point. So I guess I do need to get you caught up. Dang, niece, I guess I need to get you. Nature Mom, I guess I need to get you caught up here.
Yeah,
'Cause-
yeah.
yeah, okay. So Biden has pretty much wrecked our economy. He has killed the dollar internationally. So now, and then, but on top of this, he has opened up our borders for everybody to come in. And on top of that, he wants to continue to fund Ukraine when they are losing the war. And not only do you have actually Poland has said they're no longer helping Ukraine.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
very
so you know about
recent
that.
news. Yeah, yeah, we were just there. So, and to be honest with you, I wasn't surprised when that was actually, let's say, declared, because one of the reasons why they didn't take in the refugees before was
Uh-huh.
because they very poignantly said, if we bring in, and we're talking about the Syrian refugees, there were the Yemenis refugees, they were coming in droves. Afghanistan was one of the countries as well, and they were
Right.
coming into Europe, like flooding, of many countries. So particularly Germany, Portugal. I think Germany was the gateway, really. England like took some for a moment and then said enough, and other countries took a strong stance as well. But what's very interesting about this conversation is that, like, I think because they were, brown people, Muslim people, um, right away the conversation went towards racism. Um, and, Poland said, if we bring in refugees into our country, it's going to crash our economy,
Absolutely right.
which is
Right.
actually true, especially for where they are financially and some of the internal things that they're doing, has their economy just on the edge. Um, one of the 800, it used to be 500 plus, they're giving 500 per baby a month, and they just raised it to 800 because really the biggest push is to get people having babies again, because they're about to I think my friend told me that the stats for her was for every 8 seniors,
Yeah.
she is already being taxed for their lifestyle.
Right.
So their end of the life care, and their survival. And, that's a huge, you know, financial burden. I mean, she luckily is a self-made entrepreneur. She's a leader in her community. But that's a really hard push on her, a mom of 3. Yes, her husband also works, but they also have to support 8 people they don't know,
Right.
and it's built into the economy right now because everyone is expecting their aged population to outnumber their working population, like, very quickly. So we're looking at, by 2030, actually by, yeah, 2025 was the first sign of like some like crippling financial situations. And
Right.
then by 2030 is expected that young people are going to have to get used to, sacrificing even more to be able to afford the healthcare costs and the, inflation and cost of living for the seniors that they're going to be, dealing with in the near future. So I think there's a lot to be said about all these situations. And when you're talking about in the United States, uh, Biden has tanked the economy.
Yeah.
The United States is not immune to this global issue that is
Right.
facing us. The largest baby boom population is still in the United States.
Okay.
So, what's going to happen next? When we have rising health costs, they're already rising because we're dealing with obesity, and we're dealing with childhood obesity, and you
Right.
know uh, y- uh, heart disease is still number one killer around the world, but particularly in the United States.
Keep
So
telling
those are
people.
huge heart bills. Those are huge. Heart is one of the most expensive areas of medicine.
Right.
From
Right.
the actual care to the medication to the pharmaceuticals.
Right.
So, who's going to afford that when, you have more, let's say up to 60% of your population that's going to be on disability and needing this care.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah. So I
Um.
think that there's a lot of things going on there that I'm not even sure if we can 100% say that he has tanked the economy, but I think that
Well, he's tanking our economy by draining our resources, and like I said, it's
but
basically resources so Zelensky can buy his. He just bought a mansion in Miami.
mm,
Zelensky did,
mm,
and I believe he has a villa. He bought a villa in France. So yeah, he's making sure he's collecting his rounds. And oh, by the way, he just went to not only he came to our Congress, but also he went to Canada where they honored a SS Waffen SS Waffen soldier.
mhm.
He was 98 years old, but they gave. Let me see if I can pull up that article for you because I know this sounds crazy. I know you're like, what the hell?
No,
It's just
because all you have to say to me is Canada, and I'm like, "Oh boy, what's going on over there now?" 'Cause
right,
I
right,
feel like Canada has been the, like, testing grounds for a while on, many controversial issues that,
uh-huh,
they're, like, particularly that are a part of extreme leftist ideology. So of course, one of the issues that I have a huge issue with is, gender dysmorphia, and they've done a lot of things to disable parents in Canada to be able to fight for their children's safety in that
Right.
area,
Okay.
particularly not being given hormone treatments. So yeah, I think that these are really interesting. So yeah, when you say to me Canada, no, I'm not surprised anything's
You're
coming
not
out of there
surprised.
these days.
Okay.
Not
Okay.
at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me just read this article real quick. This is from the RT. It says Oh, German ambassador applauded Ukrainian Waffen SS Nazi. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. And here they're all standing, and oh, there goes Zelensky. They're all standing, and it says Vladimir Zelensky and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau honor Waffen SS veteran Yaroslav Hunkan in September. And now that this man is out in the open, Poland, Russia, and Germany want him extradited for war crimes.
Hmm.
So it's just weird how, like, how do you invite
N
a
I think that
SS1?
is the perfect explanation for anything, any science data, anything that I've been reading out of Canada lately. That's the only, like, either reading that data or listening to any of Joe Biden's speeches. All I can say at the end with the very glazed look in my eye is that's weird. It's just there's no
Right.
sense to it.
What?
So I mean, I will also throw out that, during 9/11, after, um, Epstein was found,
Not guilty.
dead in
Oh,
prison
yeah.
under heavy security, and Ghislaine Maxwell was finally found. It seemed like there was going to be some movement in that direction,
Right.
and the only movement after her arrest was that two fashion greats were arrested for child trafficking. And then everything disappeared, and then it became the hub of where parents will be arrested if they do not start any type of hormone treatment if their young child says, I think I'm the opposite gender. So,
Well, Trump has a policy because I've been hearing a lot of people say that, oh, Trump and Biden, they're the same. What's the difference? Well, Trump is saying that he's going to pass policy to end mutilation of young children. So, um, Biden,
I see this trend happening. They have also started banning it in Poland. They have also there's a few countries recently where they've started making actions. I mean, surprisingly enough, a lot of those countries um, have just joined BRICS or are negotiating it.
right,
But yeah, I mean, from what I understand, as while I was traveling, it seems like the United States has really taken a turn in public opinion in this area. It seems like more and more
legislative,
people are not just allowing this conversation to happen over their children, but they're actually giving some pushback that, yeah, okay, but not my kids.
right.
So I'm happy to see that because, I don't know when we became, such a country of like weak-willed people who, we're too busy paying the light and the gas bill that we can't even, stand up for our own children anymore.
Right.
Absolutely impossible. So I was really happy to hear that there is pushback and from both sides, from Democratic side, from a Republican side, people are just really standing up for the children right now, and I think that that's going to be
Well, I think
really
the
important.
Democrats are imploding. They're imploding because the Democrats are the ones who voted for open door policy. And now that the sanctuary cities are getting overflooded, now you got Democrats saying, hold up, or especially, you know what? I mean, let me be more specific. You got Black people saying, we did not vote for this. So you have an overflow of migrants, and they call them sanctuary cities in New York, in Chicago, New York, Chicago, and Colorado.
Okay.
And there's other cities, but I'm just naming those major three.
So
right?
can you define sanctuary city?
Sanctuary city is where people who are illegal migrants are allowed to come in, and Biden will give them a basically money in order to get themselves on their feet, get jobs or whatever. And people are complaining that they're bypassing homeless people here in the United States, people here in the US that need the money. Just like, so not only is Biden sending money over to Ukraine, he's sending people who are crossing the border illegally and helping in that out. And that caused the Democratic base, which is Black people, to basically disintegrate because,
Because
Hey,
when we
hey.
noticed that they're, hey, Jay Breezy.
hey,
All right.
So,
Still
yeah,
trying to get
basically,
in.
okay, I think her mic, yeah. Okay. But like I was saying, there's been a split. So now, because the base is shaking, because you have Black people saying, "Look, we did not vote for this."
Right.
But I will say this to the Black voters: no. I remember when Biden was running, y'all said anybody but Trump. So a lot of people were not paying attention to the policy. So now I'm trying to bring people into the policy. So a lot of people that are anti-Trump and saying, "Oh, Trump is bad, Trump evil man, blah blah blah." I'm saying, well, are you for or against damn illegal immigration? Well, I'm against it. I said, oh, well, so is Trump. Are you for or against? I don't know. Like we just talked about the kids undergoing like these operations that for sex changes. Oh, I'm against it. I'm saying, well, so is Trump. Oh, but I get it. You don't like Trump, but you're not paying attention to policies here. And that's what's wrong.
Right.
And that's why I said, not only people upset about Biden with sending money to Ukraine, sending money to migrants where people here in the US have it, but also guess what happened? And I'm making a wild prediction. I'm gonna make a wild prediction. I'm gonna say it here first. You're gonna say Black Son said it first. My brother said it first. In Hawaii, there was a fire. It burned down a lot of houses. A lot of people got killed. A lot of children are missing right now, Nature Mom. Biden came to Hawaii, gave them people $700 and bounced out. So my prediction is Trump is going to flip Hawaii. That's my prediction. I'm calling it. And I would even say, I'm even stretching saying he's going to flip New York, Chicago. I'm saying that's a stretch because these are migrant cities. And also, let me mention this too, since we're talking about migrant cities. Like I said, it's a lot. It's a lot. In Texas, and MD had to correct me. MD, if you're out there, hop on. I accidentally said it was Houston, but it was actually Dallas because of this whole migrant thing. You had a Black mayor switch from Democrat to Republican. That's how overwhelming it was with the whole migration thing. But yeah. But hey Jay Breeze, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Great to have you. So can I do the introduction? I would love to. All right. So you guys, just trying to also stay connected with Roots here and what's going on at home. What can I say? So Jay Breezy is an amazing artist. She's actually someone who just got inducted in the Skateboarding Hall of Fame as the first female skateboarding champion in United States. She is a self-taught artist, so you would probably see a lot of her work in many of the movies that you've been watching over the years, including Batman, the original Batman with Prince and Michael Keaton. Those are her sculptures. She and her husband, you can see his artwork behind her, have worked in the Hollywood industry for several decades. So, and we're talking about like actual, unionized members. Um, and what else can I say? She's a woman who's had to really fight for her relationships. Thanks, Twin. Twin sends you a shout out, Jay Breezy. And she has really had to fight for her personal artistic aesthetic, because her art, she chooses to do art from her heart, connected to the people that she loves and she's connected to in the world, but also the people that she feels who can most, readily tell her story as an American woman, even though being a white American, which is what she would be called these days, and as we would be called Black Americans, not just we are Americans. She's really had to fight for her art, which has been in many museums and shows, because she has been criticized for doing art of people of color. So particularly indigenous people. So it was very poignant that you brought up the Hawaii fire, because she's done many gorgeous, uh, more than life size sculptures made out of leather of the Maori tribe, of other indigenous people, just to remind the world, where we should, keep our eyes. Yes, we're going towards the future, and we have all these wonderful, technologies and, innovations going forward. But, I would say, I'm not going to say it all for her, but, the heart of the story, the way I understood it, has been, the base is that we're all humans and we're all healing together, and we've all gone through atrocities and we're still going through it. So, with all of that, no further ado, I would like to introduce you guys to Jay Breezy. Yeah.
Hi,
So,
everybody. Thanks for the introduction. It's good to
yeah.
be here.
Yeah, wonderful to have you here. So, Jay Breezy, the topic came up right away. So, first conversation Jay Breezy and I had upon my return to the Middle East was the fire, because that was it started just as we were making our ascent back into this region, and it was almost surreal for me, because it was, I'm getting the news as I'm getting on the airplane, like Hawaii's burning down.
Yeah.
And I'm writing, my people over there, and I'm like, are you guys okay? What's going on? And this situation just seems to be escalating more and more as the information is, the real information is getting out there. So, Jay Breezy, would you like to say some things about this Maui fire?
It's interesting because I think a lot of what people are feeling is that we just can't trust what we hear.
Hmm.
We can't trust what we're hearing on the news. We can't trust in the sense of, as we go along in time, there's less and less people at the top, in the sense of, we used to have more radio stations, more news stations owned by different people, and the further along we go in time, the less people own these things. And so, I was watching a thing on George Carlin, and George Carlin was basically, this guy was saying, oh, there is no conspiracy, all these people, and he's like, and George Carlin basically said, look, there's not that many people at the top that run in a circle, that talk to each other. There doesn't have to be some big wide conspiracy to make something happen. And that just to me was poignant, because I've been listening to the people on the ground in Hawaii of the things that are going on. And the weirdest thing is that it seems like the internet's been scrubbed of the children, like what happened to the children. I can't seem to find anything on that, which is so bizarre, because they said that the children didn't go to school. You don't see anybody online going, my child's missing.
Yeah.
So I just find that so odd and
Hmm.
frightening.
Like,
Um,
right.
and
Eh,
and all I can say is that the government's efforts to help them, they've basically put up obstacles because it's been the people helping the people.
Hmm.
It's been
Hmm.
the actual community helping the people. And when, I've listened to their interviews, and basically they're saying they took stuff away from them. They were like,
Hmm.
sorry, but FEMA has to be in charge here. And so they were taking water away from people and doing things. So they were basically, the government was standing in the way of people getting help
Of
instead
them
of being,
getting safe help.
yeah,
So, I
it's,
mean, and if I, if you guys can confirm for me, one of the other pieces of information that I got to was that as the indigenous people from this area were actually trying to evacuate from the fire, they were blockaded from leaving and ended up burning in their cars at the hands of government officials.
yeah, there's a guy that gives this map version of it where he's on Google Maps going from above, and
Okay.
he shows the whole area, and he shows where all the blockades were and
Hmm.
where the roads are and how people would normally travel. And it's insane. I mean, I don't think any of us can. It's hard for people to fathom that somebody would want to hurt people. But the facts and the things that people are saying,
It
it's
points
like
to a direction,
it
it
points
seems
to
like.
it.
Hmm.
Sure. And it's hard. I think it's very hard for people to, wrap their minds around that. But it's obviously something's going on. Something weird's going on. And,
Right. I mean, and I guess that's where, like, one, just looking at that situation alone, we're not talking about, the situation in Ukraine, gathering that information with that at this moment. We're not talking about, the huge flood of illegal immigration that is, like, let's say, not it's like not being, like, gone through due process. We have due process for a reason as a society. If we're looking at it from a sociological point of view, the whole reason why we have due process is, even though they can be overwhelming and a lot of times and not very efficient, but is because of all of the past mistakes, because of epidemiology, because of many different errors that we've had in the past. So we have, like, so much bureaucracy now, and one president is able to, with his loan administration, go rogue. In my opinion, if you're not bringing this to a we the people vote, then you're a rogue government. And so you're going rogue when you're choosing to do things. But when I listen to you guys and I talk to people, who are there on the ground floor, and getting all this information, the thing that keeps coming to my mind and my heart is a lot of similarities of Red Summer. All of those towns that were demolished intentionally and by the hand of our American government, and there was still, no, you know, there was no resolve to those situations to this day. There's still, areas that have been covered up, and people are asking, can you please test this soil, because we've privately tested it and we know that there's anomalies in this soil, which means that there are mass graves here. And the government just refuses to this day, knowing the history now. Those closed doors and libraries have slowly been opened up, and yet there's still a cover up from 19 to all the way to today. So when we look at this situation, here we are in 2023 going towards 2024 pretty quickly here. It just, like, overwhelms me a bit, because it makes me feel like the government's ability to be held strongly accountable for being involved with any human devastation has not been checked. that's what I'm starting to really like take from this situation. You know, our government is just like so within their own interests and within their own, their clients' interests, that, what we stand for as a constitution, what we were taught to believe in, is just absolutely, um, I mean, not honored. So it really makes me ask the question, in the case of like looking at this situation from a constitutional standpoint, you know, will these children be sought after? Will these families be taken care of? Eventually, or will there just be more and more situations like this when, some you know oligarch decides that, they see lush, beautiful land, they can start a fire and murder a bunch of people and get away with it because they have the money to.
Well, I just saw another thing too, because I think the thing that's is that at so many different levels, people are going, "This is strange. What is the deal with this?" There was an arborist talking, and he was basically saying, "Why is it that all these structures are gone, but you still see trees standing?"
Mm.
And this is a guy that's, looking at it from a plant standpoint. And he has gone out, and he's actually gone out with a couple of California fire chiefs, because they're seeing things where these fires are burning so hot that, the aluminum is melting, the glass is melting. And he said they're seeing this in a lot of these fires. And yet plants are standing. But he said that when they tested the plants, they were cooked from the inside out. So they still were standing, but they were literally cooked. So it wasn't like a regular fire where it burned down. These trees that were still standing were dead, but they were cooked from the inside out. And what this guy was saying, the arborist, was like, this has got to be some kind of microwave. This is because, and even the fire chief said, we've never seen fires like this. And a lot of the Paradise Fire in California, and a lot of people in Paradise actually went over to Maui to tell people what they went through so that they didn't sign the papers, because the government
Right.
comes out, has them sign papers, and people don't know what they're signing. So, so the American people.
And right there, like, is this really the time when they're still missing family members, such huge devastation? Is this the time to be signing contracts? Or is it the
Right.
time to just present aid? I mean, if you can readily present aid to Ukraine, without any signing of papers, we're assuming, you're looking
Yeah.
very benevolent, in your media coverage. Why are we looking for anyone to sign anything at this moment? Shouldn't we just be coming from a very human, position to assist our fellow humans? In I mean, like, it's like going to a funeral and taxing everyone at the funeral house.
Yeah. Well, it's weird when you say that. It just makes me feel like, are the people at the top, there's a saying spiritually, like your conscience being seared.
Hmm.
Are we dealing with people whose consciences are seared that don't? Because if you think about our country giving all this aid to another country, and they're saying because of, a war, because of devastation, because of the loss of life, is that really what they're, if they're about that, then why don't they help other people? It's like,
Okay.
it's their agenda. It's an agenda. Is it really about the loss of life?
Right.
Or is it about something else? Is it about these power structures? And, what are they using? What is war actually for?
Yeah.
What
Well,
are they
I mean,
actually
we knew
doing
what it
for?
was for in the past, right? I mean, it was for destabilizing countries. It was for putting, like undermining the governments that once were in power and that were in agreement with, as the G7 and the, I always forget their name, the United Nations, were, let's say, declaring themselves the world police.
Right.
Any country that went against that eventually became countries that we were in conflict with. And of course, very seldomly did we have direct conflict with them. It was always like some kind of proxy war and some type of like third party situation. But today it seems like the new tool of war seems to be, one, I mean, since COVID we could see very clearly it's a biological war. um Through media and social media, we can see it's a psyop war, particularly on our children first, and on our nervous system, and on our neurological, like, ability to cope, with the way that information is being given to us, even from a, like, not only, a sound wave, point of view, but from an actual, light wave point of view. Um, I mean, just so many different issues that documents are coming out of these tech companies. They knew that these devices were going to cause our kids to have seizure disorders, and to have emotional problems, and developed mental illness, and to have anxiety disorder, and an increase of dyslexia, this dysgraphia, and other you know developmental issues. So they were aware of this, the same as the documentation, when they were finally asked to present the documents on the side effects that they knew about with the vaccinations. They knew that they were going to cause blindness. They knew that they were going to cause heart clotting, and make young people have heart attacks. So we're seeing war on a very different scale than we've ever experienced it in history. I think that, like, when you brought up the situation in Maui, and that there's like a particular type of causes to these fires and the way that they're burning, it just makes me think about in California growing up. We never saw fires like that every single fall, and they're starting to take up over multiple parts of the city, to the point where the sky is just so dark red and orange. You can't even go outside, and because the air quality is poisonous. Those things didn't happen growing up. And I think that we can all attest to that situation. But then when we're talking about, like, acres and acres of farmlands that have been destroyed since, we're talking about like the last 2 years straight, farmlands being destroyed, crops being destroyed. We're seeing all these very unexplainable actions, yet we have a commander in chief who can't put together, three phrases that are coherent. And when you do try to dig into what he's saying, you're like, what did he just call me? You don't know what's going on.
Right.
So, I feel like the war is no longer what it used to be. A country trying to declare power over another country in the same way that they used to in the past. Who's going to be the king of the hill? Because I think that the G7, G8 has already declared themselves the world organization. So the question is the war against us as normal everyday people? Because we seem to be the one who are getting the brunt of each one of these situations in the very end. People still haven't returned to their homes in the Ninth Ward after Hurricane Katrina. um, you know I very much doubt that these people will even be able to get their lands back if all of their documents in their homes or their proof has been burned up. So I'm really wondering, is this a war against human beings on any particular level, being able to say, well, this is mine, this came from my family's lineage and heritage, because this is how I see it in this situation, very similar to the Red Summer, you know.
Yeah, but with a war, you always have to ask the question, what is the end game? Like, what is the end goal? So Zelensky has said, we want to fight to take back Crimea, the Republic of Luhansk, and Republic of Donetsk. And I'm just like, how do you do that? Like, how do you do that? Like, when we have like given them 155 caliber shells, and now we've given cluster bombs, and Russia like has like 3 lines of defense, right? 3 lines of defense, and we have not even penetrated, or I'm not going to say we. Zelensky has not penetrated the first line of defense, and now again you got Hungary, you got Poland. They have both said we are no longer supporting this war. Pretty soon, you got people here in Congress. When Zelensky came to the United States, basically, we have people. Well, we finally have people standing up saying, "Look, man, we can't give no more money to Ukraine." And Slovakia, I think they've said they can't help them anymore either.
Slovakia.
Yeah, Slovakia. So
Mhm.
Slovakia, Hungary, Poland. Poland is one of the main people over there, right on the
First-
border. Yeah, they
It's the
say,
first line of defense for Ukraine, right?
why don't the
and-
first line of defense, but first line of defense for Europe? Period.
Right.
That's
Right.
that's Poland, but Poland is saying we can't keep doing this, And so I think people are behind the scenes saying, look, make peace. Even Putin said, look, I'm because I think what's going on with Putin and Xi Jinping is that they're being very patient. And Putin has said he's willing to come to the table and have peace talks. He's been wanting peace. He wanted peace since the Minsk 1 and 2 Accords back in 2015. And Boris, what is his name? Boris, the one with the messy hair from England. He said, no, don't do it. So this administration with Biden, what's her name? Victoria Nuland. They keep pushing for war, and Victoria Nuland, of all people, are like saying, yes, let's take back Crimea. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, Crimea? Really? These people made a referendum to separate from Ukraine, and so did the Republic of Luhansk and Donetsk. They made a referendum which was in the Ukrainian constitution, Article 72, 73. If they basically, I'm paraphrasing, if there's some funny business going on in the government, you can make a referendum and separate, and that's what they did. And go ahead.
So I like when I'm listening to what you're saying, and especially comparing it to executive sessions comments. Executive says that they went to Chico Street, so the next city over from Paradise, and it was a sad situation that could have been avoided. I think that what's important when we're looking at like who is the United States choosing to support and who is the United States choosing to let suffer. Like I said, there's I don't know about you guys, but so many people that I know are getting messages from their state governments. I'm not getting the messages from the California government, but they're getting messages from their state government quite often. There's a new aid, funding is being put into this and funding is being put into that. And yet, as 420 Executive 420 said, there weren't enough funds and support put in to make sure that such a devastating fire is not happening, on our own front porch. And in looking at the, Maui situation, that's an American country. The first line of defense should be put into aiding Americans to strengthen our country as best as possible as a commander in chief. So to me, that gives me the message that the true clients of our presidency right now is not their interest. It is not in their interest to protect American citizens. It looks like the interest sits more with getting more and more real estate from other places, making sure that there's more real estate owned by very few groups within the United States. I mean, I don't know if people are aware of this. I don't have the data in front of me at this moment because I've been working on 500 other things. But I was very shocked very recently to find out from a financial expert that when a house is going on the market, there is an over 50% chance right now that it's going to be bought up very quickly by a corporation, not by a family. And by an individual American. And the same thing is happening with businesses. When someone is aging out or becomes ill or just ready to sell their business, it's usually other businesses that are going to go in and buy this business. We have lost the footing of mom and pops. It's been gone for such a long time that I think that people are even forgetting what it's like to have mom and pop shops in your neighborhood. I'm living in well, not currently, but where I was living before, to live in communities where everything was mom and pop shop, in your immediate area, you really had to go out of your way to go to a mega market. And when I think about, I've shared with both of you before, but particularly here, with the audience, my take on what a mega market means to the health of us and our children and our aging parents. It means that all of our health, no matter if you're eating vegan or you're eating meat, all of those sources are highly suspect if they're coming from a mega market, because it's only coming from a couple of sources within the United States. That's a very dangerous position, for America. How did it even get to that point when, we were built on a country of farmers, of like, small Puritan families that, doesn't matter what their religious, point of view was, but, they were farmers. They were people who cultivated and they grew food, and that food moved back and forth throughout their local communities. And that is so far from what's going on in our food sources to this day. And I love how a lot of people out there within the United States, especially since I've been back, I feel like I've come back from being unplugged, and just like the world took a shift in their ability to speak up, because there's a lot of business people who are saying, I want to help other Americans become business and homeowners, because there's all of the corporations are buying it up, and you have a right to own something in America. And this is becoming their passion and their move, just because they believe in Americans owning a piece of America. So I think that, like, executive count came in with you got Canadians giving standing ovations. Yeah, I mean, Canadians is always, I know a lot of Canadians as individual people always thought that they were nice people, but the way that I feel like their government is being used as a testing ground on like how much human suffering we're going to tolerate from governments is just astounding to me, because it is the ground zero right now of attacking children. And they've done it before in the past. Let's not forget our history, because it doesn't always repeat itself, but it rhymes. And let's talk about where boarding schools, came from in Canada, and what they did to the indigenous people. They're forcing them into these boarding schools where priests and nuns physically and sexually abuse these children, to the point where, the children, the last who have grown up in that system, still suffer from, severe mental illness, from so many different issues. So, what I'm saying here is that I just feel like, the war, when we put it into into that word, is against us. It's against our Constitution. It's against what we stand for. It's against we the people. Because the last stance, the only thing standing, and that you can hold a politician, a sex trafficker, a corrupt corporation, a corrupt agency, government or private, against in the highest court, is the Constitution. And if we the people have no strength, have no means, have no even mental power, then and they're burning us up, starving us out, and gonna leave us eating bugs and being happy, and have us distracted, with our kids, facing so much, mental illness, and dysmorphia, and that's a big distraction all at one time. So many strikes, so many, as Black Sun always mentions, so many financial situations that we're constantly having to deal with. We're choking in issues, and yet we're still expected to be, because it takes more than a two-person household to sustain the inflation and cost of living in the United States. So, you have a lot against you, as a citizen. Um, it seems like wealth, if I can look at the way it's appearing to me, is that, President Xi has become more of a client, agency situation, more than it is a country of constituents that you are unifying and protecting.
It's
You know,
funny. Oh, go ahead.
the one thing that rings in my mind hearing what we're talking about is this is just another step in colonization. It is. It is just the continued colonization, not just of land, but of individuals. It's I mean, the fact that so many people are talking about this stuff, and the other thing that came to my mind was sovereignty. How do we practice sovereignty over ourselves? Because this stuff it's a disease, colonialism, the policy or practice of acquiring full or partial political control over another country. Let's just say over another individual. Because it's like a colonization of individuals, right. And it's taking power. And, I think when it is on a mass scale like this, it is depressing for people because, but it almost, to me, goes back to that we have to take a spiritual stand for ourselves and focus on doing what's right, being a loving person, continuing to do what's right. Because I feel like when you're, it's interesting because if you really look back at Jesus, they thought that he was going to free them from the Romans. They were like, yeah, he's here to free us from the Romans. And the Zealots were sure that Jesus was going to start this army. But it was a spiritual sovereignty that he was, telling people they could have this freedom, within themselves. And I think, for me, I'm trying to understand what that is, because how do we deal with something on this scale? Because it really is the continuation of colonialism. And
Mhm.
it's really interesting because the reason why I started to study tribes was because my dad was dying of cancer. He was in a hospital, and it was the worst experience. My dad was a pharmacist, and he was abused in the hospital. I mean, so many things went wrong there.
Hmm.
And it really made me question and question and question. And I think, for me, what I'm seeing this movement is that we are seeing. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. But I kind of just saw, like, my dad was just a number. He was just he wasn't a human. He was a
It wasn't human
number.
anymore.
Yeah, he wasn't human. It's like they were making all these mistakes, and he was on what is the government plan? Medicare.
Medicaid. Yeah, Medicare. Mm-hmm.
He was on Medicare, and
Mm-hmm.
basically they he was on so many drugs that he had to have what's called a sitter. And the sitter comes into the room and watches them. He was hallucinating. I mean, he was out of his mind on these drugs. Well, the sitter decided that their time was up, and they left without the new sitter coming. And so my dad got up out of bed after, he's got terminal cancer. He's been in bed for 3 months. He gets out of bed and falls flat on his face and breaks his front teeth. I'm just like, are you kidding me? And that's what got me started on, like, what is going on? That you're in a hospital, and this is what healthcare looks like.
That's care. Exactly. I mean, they have the nerve to even put care behind, or even health.
Right. And then I went to a lawyer, and the lawyer said, well, your dad's dying of cancer, so there's no life to fight for. It's like, he's still alive.
Right.
So,
right.
I saw this, 20 years ago in the care of my father. And that's when I was like, you know what? I'd rather just be living off the land, holding my dad in my arms and letting him die with some dignity than to see this. And it was all based on what they were going to get from Medicare. I kid you not.
No,
it's like they wanted to
that's
do
the industry.
Yeah, they wanted to do exploratory surgery. And guess what? I said, no, absolutely not. He died that day. He died that day. They were going to go in. So this is the power that these people have been given through government, through Medicare, and that's when I'm just like, we got to go backwards. I just really believe, looking at tribal people and looking at how we lived, we had more connection to the earth, to each other, to a spiritual sense of being. And I feel like as we go afar in time, we're going further and further away from who we are towards fake everything, fake food, fake weather, fake, everything. And we're getting further and further. And that is the colonization of each human being. It's not just of land. It's of our minds. It's of our being. That's what I feel like we're up against.
Right. If I can add to that, I know you've been waiting, Black Sun, but I just want to add to what Jay Breezy is saying about getting away from human care. Now we're calling it care, health care, elderly care, children's care, daycare. And, the bottom line is none of our people will get the care if we don't have the funds, paying into this care in some way, shape, or form. You won't get decent care unless you are able to, one, put in your physical effort to fight to just take your part of the funds. Let's say you could have taken your part of the funds, come up with an extra couple of jobs and added to those funds, and then try to afford, as long as you could, better true care for your father, for the last days of his life, just so he could die comfortably. And I think that that's the thing that people really don't get when they haven't gone through an experience like yours, or they haven't worked in the healthcare and the medical industry and really get to see it up close, in the social care industry. When you really get to see these things up close, then you get to see what definition of care truly is. And the numbing of the care workers, because they are also abused in so many ways. It's really horrible. So one of the things I wanted to add to this is, I'm seeing this trend. One of my friends just left a couple of days ago, because she searched all over the globe where she could have her child the natural way. There will be a midwife who will come and just assess, stand out the door because you're a stranger. She has her group of people. I'm one of the people she wants to be there, to catch the baby when it comes out. The midwife will come back in, make sure in the presence of everyone that, she and the baby are in good condition, and that's it. And the midwife agrees to this type of service because the midwife also is not bought in, into the system, because they're so appalled by the type of, what they're calling medical care for, women having babies, and the amount of stress. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. I've never heard of anything like this, having children, inside or outside of US. But in some areas, they are, medical advisors are telling pregnant women to take glucose. And this is not just for like testing if you have gestational diabetes, for this one particular test that they do at a certain point of your pregnancy, but they have them taking it regularly. They're selling it in markets, and people are even giving it to their children. And we wonder why there is a huge spike in diabetes and childhood obesity happening. They're eating straight glucose. And that is just amazing to me, that any medical professional who has gone through physiology and anatomy, who has studied nutrition, even the 6 months they give you in medical school, would ever recommend someone eating straight glucose. I mean, under rare circumstances, maybe if someone has glucose, a lack of, ability to produce glucose, I can see, but to, or to not produce it, but to an inability to synthesize it from your food. So you have to give extra doses of it, so that your body's getting something. Okay. In those rare circumstances, it would make sense. But a regular human being who's probably eating a typical Western diet has no need to take direct glucose, because every single food that you're eating will convert to glucose. Every food. So, this is one of the reasons why this mother sought for, more than half of her pregnancy, a place where she could have her baby legally. Let me just throw that word out, because her choosing to have a child natural is illegal in most of the countries she was looking in. Uh, so one other point that I wanted to add to that are the amount of women, who are having babies, and they're being given, in my opinion, not very good. I would never let my doctor give me the advice that a lot of these mothers, young mothers, are getting. Stay off your feet your entire pregnancy. Don't work out. Just sit there, and then you're also eating your glucose. So, of course, all of a sudden you're going to have gestational diabetes. So, no, I don't think that what we can call the services that we're getting on these, public levels, or even, let's say, like lower income or middle income levels. Because I think that when we're just talking about anyone who's not able to really pay for medical services on their own, in the United States, you're going to get what you're going to get. Um, And I think that that's one of the scariest things because, more times than not, I'm finding, people's stories are, the type of care that they're getting is just so substandard compared to what you can get right next to a country that's in the middle of war and can barely afford to take care of the, people that they've taken in, and in the name of NATO. And yet you can get good care and pay for it in cash. So I think that there's just this very interesting like lack of balance, of accountability, transparency, and like you said, just getting back to this, let's say standard of kindness, quality, honesty in business. But I don't feel like we can get there, with the same, let's say, clientele who's able to buy our, legislation, who's able to buy our, presidency, um, and allow fires and, epidemics where large droves of particular groups of people are dying over other ones, and and expect that there's going to be, fairness when these are the same people who are going in and buying up, as we said before, all of the properties, all of the businesses, from individual people. And then in this particular situation, you think that they're going to give those people their properties back after this fire? Probably not. You know? So I mean, how do we get there is the question. We see where it's going. We see where all of the interests. I mean, before, like during the age of Roosevelt, wasn't his biggest argument as president was, let's keep our American nose, where the American nose belongs. And now, like, international policy seems to be only, priority policy, and people, individual people. I mean, there you guys right now, just like I said, I've only been back, a couple weeks now, but I've heard about writer strike, trucker strike. There's been um oh gosh, the
Auto workers, auto
fire
workers.
fire firefighters are striking.
Auto workers,
Oh, the
the
auto
auto,
workers, right. Correct. The auto workers, so here we have like all of our people that, basically are the, best economies we had left in United States, and they're all going into strike because, what do you need them for? One last thing, I know I kind of going on a point tangent here, but I think like putting it all together in a full perspective is helping me process, the situation. But let's say, for example, I was listening to a physicist, and he was talking about, the way that we're all, we don't ground anymore. We spend most of our times indoors, and it's very, few times that the average human being in a first world country, or should we say a core country, is taking off their shoes and touching the earth, touching sand, touching grass, especially real, grass, natural prairies, things like this, and he was talking about like the magnetic pull of the earth, and how when you actually with your feet touch these, natural surfaces, you ground, and you actually lose a lot of, like, toxins, a lot of the physics like things happens, right? And yet the big push is to sit, well, if you have free time, you're not encouraged to go out and, get on a beach and walk with your feet in the sand, and go walk on some grass or whatever. You're encouraged to sit in front of one device or another, scrolling through other people's stories and entertainment for you. And as we know, these devices actually, they pull away from our natural grounding senses, like we mentioned earlier. So there's never any real care, given to the American citizens, and like we can't even, let's not even talk about all the people globally, right? But given to the basic care, you know, so many reports just this, you know, past month came out about all of these tech companies that knew for a fact that these devices in the hands of our children were going to cause, you know, different, you know, developmental and neurological nervous system effects, you guys, lifelong. And our government did nothing to protect our children over their clients. So when we're looking at what's happening in, you know, all these aids given to migrant workers, and, you know, it kind of makes sense. I mean, I think the bottom line is, as I'm processing this and thinking about it with you guys, is that the war is on us, because we're the only ones that are going to stand up for us, just like the people in Hawaii were the only ones caring for their community that just went under attack. You know, it will be us who are going to fight for our kids. You know, it's going to be us who are going to fight for our food. It's going to be us, you know, who are going to do all these things. But basically, they're showing us we don't need you anymore. We'll bring in, you know, the people we've already suppressed in South America. We left them with so little; they'll be happy to get a little bit more from us, you know. And if they're getting more than you, they'll be happy to take your jobs, you know. And you know, it. Yeah, we can buy out Zelensky because we get that property. If we get Ukraine on our side, we get them, you know, through this conflict to join NATO, and we push that much, you know, further our property boundary. And who cares about the people who are already here? Because those people will fight to stand up for the little bit that they even have left. And we'll just get rid of them, burn them up. So, you know, unfortunately, that's how I'm seeing this situation when we ask that question, who is the war against?
Well, I think I heard the UAW was brought up. So let's deal with that, because that actually will correlate with 420's comment that he left. So the United Auto Workers, who both Biden and Trump went to go talk to, you say the war is against us. Yeah. The thing is that, like, a situation like that is so simple, right? And I even got into it with some people on the streets about this, and it was like half and half. I went to the bank of all places, right? And conversation started, and oh gosh, how can I say this? So you got a group of people trying to convince people that, you know, oh, electric is good and we should go electric. And I heard one of the most brilliant things that was said. Why not allow people to go both electric and gas? Why not do both? Because number one, and I said this, and I think it was misconstrued, BRICS is not going to allow the electric. Okay, because now, you know, BRICS is in a position where, oh, Russia has figured out the petro game. China has figured out the petro game. And we know Saudi Arabia knows the petro game quite well, and same with Iran. So we need a policy to kind of, you know, we're talking about what we need to do is start drilling here to lower the gas prices here and to cut off BRICS, because once BRICS is in position, they will control the petrol price. Now, you think the rest of the world is going to go electric? No. Hell, America's not going to go electric. You know, Candace Owens made a very good point. She said, we try to force our way of culture and living across the world, and people in the United States are not even, aren't even the same. You know what I'm saying? Our culture in the South is not same with people in New York, and people in New York, their culture is not the same in California. So how are we going to impose our country, our cultures and our standards and all that? So I say that to say this: they blew up the pipeline 420 because Russia figured out capitalism. They're like, oh, capitalism. Okay, we're going to sell our oil to Europe because 60% of Europe petrol was coming from Russia because their gas was cheap. It was cheap, plain and simple. And they blew it up because It was blown up, in my belief, because America didn't want no competition. But we got Biden already saying if Russia sends tanks across the Ukraine line, the pipeline one will come to an end. It's stated already. It's said that already. And now we're trying to roll back and act like he didn't say that, but no, he said that. So 420, to answer your question, yeah, under the Biden administration, that pipeline was destroyed from America. We got dang records of what's her name? I forgot the woman from England when she resigned because they caught her text. Yeah, they caught her text saying it is done when she texted Anthony Blinken. So yeah, the truth is all there. They're saying, oh well, one of our I forgot the guy's name. Seymour Hersh. Yeah, Seymour Hersh. How can I forget his name? He's already got people, people leaked information saying when they were doing military drills in the Baltic Sea that they sent divers under there and planted bombs on the thing. But I say that to say this. We have to have choices. We have to have policies in place that will allow both electric and gas. I'm a truck driver. I can't see myself going across country and then stopping where the horses and cows are out in the middle of the nowhere
to charge
up my battery. No, that's a no-go. That's a no-go. So yeah, I'm just like, no, we got to, it can't be an either or situation. They said either gas or electric. Well, then let's just have both and let the better product reign supreme. That's what America's all about. At the end of the day, let the people choose the better product. Don't get them just one choice and say, oh, just go electric and all that because the environment. Well, the environment, we still got to deal with batteries and we still got to deal with China because China is going to be the one that's producing the batteries. So, yeah, the war is against our workers. The workers, if we talk about jobs and going electric, we're going to kill the auto industry and having auto is the backbone of this country. So, yeah.
Well, I once again, I don't think that it's just about the workers. It's about the landowners, because as you just, very poignantly mentioned, all this digging in Africa for lithium, and not only lithium, but copper for our phones, gold,
Don't forget yellow cake and uranium, because France thought they were slick and saying, well, we don't need the gasoline. We got nuclear. And so now they're being kicked out of every African country. Guinea Faso, Niger, I think Toku, all of them are saying, France, goodbye. We don't need your services anymore. And now you got Russia moving in.
China has already moved in.
Yeah, they've already moved in.
Yeah,
but
China was already there.
But unlike France, Russia and China are offering to build the roads, they're offering hospitals, they're offering things where France is just like, gimme. And so, no, they're saying, no, never enough of that.
Since the Great Crusades, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I think that's just a thing. This is every place you look, the war is against the constituents, so, get rid of the workers, get rid of education, get rid of, anybody who's going to go against policies.
Nature Obama, under whose policy?
And that's just the thing, who's allowing, everyone to go in and mine these lands. Yet, I mean, when you talk about the G20, doesn't the G20 even include Russia, includes China, it includes the MENA, the Middle East, North African countries?
Well, at the end of the day, the G20 does the bidding of France, England, and United States at the end of the day. And that's why BRICS has been formed, because a lot of these countries were tired of what you call embargoes. Russia was the last straw. Russia was like, no, you know what? We're going to farm our own. And like you said, when you got a powerhouse like Russia, powerhouse like China, now other countries are following suit. Like, it's going to be America against the world. I'm just saying BRICS, but most of the world is joining BRICS. So you got North Korea being a candidate, Honduras being a candidate. You got all
Venezuela.
these companies following suit now because they want to be part of this new economy.
And that's the thing. It's a shift of power. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if it's still going to be, at the cost of the citizens. More than likely, I think that it is.
Well, it'll be the cost of the citizens if we don't choose the right person with the right policies. Again, if you got somebody talking about they want to go electric, I can explain how that's not the right policy. Now, if you say electric and gas, which another person was putting in that policy, then okay, cool. That's more doable than we just going to go electric.
Right.
But you have rolling blackouts in California. Like, no, that's not a good policy at all.
Which has already been happening in Europe since the war with Ukraine. I mean, I think that the only thing that saved Europe, especially Germany, France, and a lot of other countries that were getting 60% of their gasoline from Russia, is the fact that the winters are more mild. So they weren't
No,
hit as
don't
hard.
get it twisted, Nature Bomb. They're still getting their petrol from Russia through India, and
another,
through
yes,
Turkey, right? So
through other,
Turkey and India are like, man, we're making a killing. We're making, because they got to take their money off the top. But no. Just because there's a war between Russia and Ukraine, the Russian petroleum has not stopped. It's just going through a third party. And Erdogan is like, yes, keep the war going, yes. In India, the prime minister is like, yes, keep the war going, money, keep it going. So we can sell, so we can take ours off the top instead of just Russia giving it directly to Germany, which America didn't want. But but Turkey and India are enjoying this because they're getting rich. They're enjoying it. And so is China.
And it's interesting you mentioned that, because Turkey is one of the places where people are saying it's another world when you go there. There's just such a separation from what's happening all over the rest of the world, in that area. There's a lot of people considering moving there. So it's very interesting.
But they're going to make a lot of money off this war for sure. Like I said, because of the petroleum, because like I said, Europe was buying Russian petroleum dirt cheap. And so now you got a middleman that Turkey and India can charge what they want.
And I know that they are also one of the countries that absolutely closed the policy on no child mutilation in the name of transgenderism. They've closed the policy on GMOs coming into their country. Right. So they're one of the few places left in the world who can grow real food for their people. Right. And it's also one of the few places where you can come into their country and you can work, you can establish yourself, you can buy land, and you can be a part of the growing community, economy there.
Right. Okay. So and that's Turkey or India.
Turkey.
Okay. Turkey.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Turkey.
Now they call themselves Turkcha.
Turkcia.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, they're even getting fancy. Turkcia. We're Turkcia now.
We can afford a couple more letters.
Well, yes. Well, I mean, they can charge what they want because people in Europe are going to have a very cold winter. So yeah, they're going to pay whatever it takes to get that cheap Russian oil, because the Russian oil gets there quicker than the liquefied gas that we have to send all the way across the Atlantic. So
yeah. So guys, so many things to touch on, and I think that we could probably spend the rest of the night getting into this. Unfortunately, I have to go, but you guys really, what a welcome back. Yeah, that was an amazing welcome. Popcorn, thanks 420. Yeah. I think that we have a lot of thinking to do as constituents, because I think that we are Right now, as the movie Matrix made it appear, humans, who took the magic pill that woke them up, realized that they were the fuel for this, these uh like robots. But I think that what people really don't get is we're the fuel, you know for these huge, mafia type government systems. And we will be expendable. I mean, they're already telling us on so many levels, as we mentioned so many times here. I mean, I couldn't even believe it when I first heard it. Like, you're going to own nothing. And I think that, yeah, Maui is one of the first examples of what they meant when they said, you will own nothing. Uh, Once again, not the first time that happened in history. But before we like close out here, Jay Breezy, would you like to leave us with a closing statement?
Well, thanks for having me. That whole Matrix thing, I it just makes me think again. It's like all those bodies in those things. It was a colony. It was people that were colonized.
Yeah.
And that's what the agenda has been for a long time. And, I believe in personal sovereignty, that we have a God-given right to own ourselves and to, make choices. We have got to wake up and really come together, because, anytime anybody brought the people together, they were killed, It's like Martin Luther King. It's like, if you look at, as soon as he wanted to have the March of the Poor, where he brought everybody together, they're toast. So it's like, we have to join hands and take our sovereignty back of our own person,
Yes, I have to agree with that. Jade Breezy, I would love to extend another invitation to you for a continual conversation, because I think that one of the things that you and I get to touch on a lot is it just, the manipulation of race, and as in my opinion, a psyop on our culture as a whole, which I think is a vein that weakens us from being able to, decolonize. So yeah, whenever you get a chance, we'll have to talk to you about it. But please, I like to extend an open invitation to continue that conversation and see what solutions, are possible out there, So, but thank you for being here with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And Black Sun,
Cool.
thank you. We appreciate it so much.
Well,
Thank you for giving us a place.
Back. Yeah. Welcome
Thank you.
back. Ron
And
says,
everybody out there. Yeah. Everybody out there, appreciate your input. This is a community conversation for sure.
cool, y'all. All right. We are out, and see y'all next week, same time, same bat channel.
See you next week.
All right. Peace, y'all. We out.